Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I am zooming in from a end of school, preschool, last day of school party. So excuse the background noise as I introduce our incredible host this afternoon. We are so excited to bring this conversation about NFTs. We know that so many members have wanted to hear more about what NFTs are, how we can get involved, how we can get our artists involved, how artists themselves can jump on the NFT train, and kind of how everything works, the entire landscape. So we are so excited to have Christina Beltramini here tonight with us, who is new to WIM. She is the global vice chair of our development and partnerships team, and also at TikTok. She is in the global business development, focused on licensing and partnerships. So wearer of many hats, and we're so excited to have Christina leading the conversation with us tonight, and some incredible panelists. So Christina, I'll switch over to you, and I'm gonna mute myself with this madness here and let you introduce our incredible speakers and this conversation. Thanks again, everyone.
Excellent. Thanks, Nicole. And very excited to be able to lead this discussion today. Obviously, it's a very hot topic in the music industry. And so Nicole and the team has done a great job in kind of bringing you guys the best today. We've got a really special panel of everything from musicians to platform companies and also music tech experts. So what I'll do, just because I don't think I will be able to give, the intro that these incredible women deserve, is I will let them, we'll do kind of like go around the room and give an intro of everyone on the call. So just because you're next to me, I will pass it on to you, Riva.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Riva, a singer, songwriter. I have tried both sides of the coin in terms of being a signed artist with a major label for many years. I'm now an independent artist, giving me a little bit more freedom, I think, over how I choose to do things and structure things. And so very recent, I should say, dabbler in the NFT world, curious like many of you. So yeah, looking forward to talking more about this.
Over to you, Sherry.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Christina. Thanks so much to Women in Music as well for putting this panel together. Very quickly, my name is Sherry Hu. I'm a writer and researcher focused on the intersection of music and tech. That's been my beat since around 2015. So I've been covering the space for around 6 years. I can get into this later, but the first music conference I ever attended was the first time I even learned about blockchain as a concept. Also 2015, so definitely kind of seen all the ups and downs kind of around that subject, including but not limited to NFTs. And yeah, I run my own newsletter called Water and Music. I've been working on that full time. To paid membership on Patreon for around 2 years now. So yeah, again, excited to be here.
All right, Anna.
Okay, so my name is Anna, and I'm based in Stockholm, sound engineer. Unfortunately, or actually fortunately, due to Corona pandemic, I pivoted my career going to blockchain because it was always interesting me. So I become a product developer for a Swiss-based tech blockchain company, which is only focusing on music, and developed NFT and blockchain workframes for the musicians to make them collect the revenue as good as it's possible. That's about me.
Off to you, Eleanor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in for this panel. My name is Eleanor Blank. I'm based in Amsterdam. I founded Crypto Canal a couple of years ago, and I focus on education, marketing, and business development for the cryptocurrency industry. And a couple weeks ago, I was moderating an NFT panel, and that's where I met basically Lee Parson and discovered through this IPC event, Opulus. So I'm here tonight representing, Munya, who was supposed to be on the panel. I know you were all expecting her, but basically I'll do my best to talk about Opulus and how they're really disrupting the NFT music industry.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really happy to have you all here. So I think, where we should first start is really, I would love someone to kind of take the question of what an NFT is and why it's so groundbreaking. Because one of the things that, and one of the questions that I get a lot, and that's from people at work or even family members that are reading a lot about NFTs in the media, is like, I read about it. I know it's a non-fungible token, but I don't still fully understand it. So would love if someone is happy to take this question. I think we can kick things off with that.
It's so tempting to just answer it this way. I know that everybody's going to have a different definition. For everybody's listening, this is still an ongoing social experiment, and NFTs are something that are very interesting. But basically, you have normal cryptocurrencies, and then you have certain cryptocurrencies from which you can wrap some data around it. So basically, you're attaching your transaction with a file, basically, which is uploaded and goes onto the blockchain. So file plus that timestamp transaction that goes into a blockchain can turn itself into an NFT. And so these non-fungible tokens are what people are realizing, that they can attach a certain value to do more than just a simple crypto transaction onto a blockchain. And then there's, of course, a lot of different variances of that. But in essence, that's what an NFT is.
I can maybe jump in and add hopefully a helpful analogy. So yeah, totally agree with what Eleanor just said, in that it's like, yeah, we're all trying to like collectively write this definition. I think for the music industry, a helpful metaphor or helpful analogy is like a digital trading card or digital piece of merch. I don't think it's by coincidence that those are also like some of the most common use cases for NFTs. But if you think about, to go back to like normal cryptos, yes, like Bitcoin, it's fungible, just like, any current like fiat currency, like the US dollar, which means, it's mutually interchangeable. If you and I have each have one Bitcoin, it's like has the same exact use. If we switch it still has the same exact use. You can divide it into, like multiple different pieces. Whereas, and it's also like, singularly, it's unique and it's rare, has some aspect of rarity. With Bitcoin, there's not the same sense of rarity. Whereas with a non-fungible token, it is like a, like a concert t-shirt. There is more of a sense of scarcity, at least a little bit. You can't divide a t-shirt into multiple like pieces and have it be, the same function as the whole. So that's I think like a helpful analogy, like thinking of it as like a baseball trading card, Pokemon trading card, concert t-shirt, like those kinds of like rare pieces of merch.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think the guaranteed scarcity is a big part of this, which you just touched on, Sherry.
And Riva, maybe to you, I mean, you're a musician. Why do you think NFTs are so important for artists? I know that's a loaded question, but would love to get your take on why this is such a groundbreaking technology for artists in terms of brand building and reaching their fans.
I think there are two reasons why it's initially interested so many artists. And obviously, I think this is something that artists are still discovering. I know that for a fact because, I've been championing it just for a little while now, and I've had artists reach out to me saying, what are you talking about? What's this thing that I want to be a part of? I think there's a reason why artists are so interested at the moment. Obviously, it is very timely. I know, obviously, these things have been going on for years. It's hit the mainstream media back end of last year, early this year, is what I've become aware of it for the first time during a global pandemic when artists' revenue obviously has been cut, unfortunately. And we're looking for new ways to reach our fans and also new ways to get creative. And I think this is what NFTs are all about. It's a creative way of representing yourself. So I think that's definitely one reason why I have definitely fallen down the rabbit hole, as you put it in your question. It's just something of interest at a time where I was feeling personally as an artist. I think what some other artists have also recognized, it's less about the earning potential, while that's also important. It's more about what its potential to disrupt the music industry, actually, in quite an interesting way. An industry that obviously works very well in many ways and for many artists. But if you are an independent artist right now, if you own your masters, this is a very exciting thing, where you can really sort of break down the barriers and interact directly with your fan base, and as some artists have proven, make it very lucrative indeed. I know we'll come on to it, but I haven't really had any weight on expectation my end. It's all evolving at the moment, and I'm looking at what I've uploaded and what I can do next, and how I can change with and learn, I think, from my first drop. But it's certainly a really, really fascinating time to be involved in this. And I think while I'm not at the beginning, I feel like I'm relatively near the beginning of a movement that could actually shape the future.
I agree. I think it's still very early days, and everyone who's on this call is super early in what's going to be potentially, something pretty groundbreaking for the music industry. So it's really exciting. Riva, just around, I know you mentioned that you've experimented with NFTs, and I saw you kind of coupled it with the launch of your latest album and single. Can you talk us a little bit more around that, and why you kind of like opted to do it, and the benefits that you saw?
I chose to do it obviously for the reasons I just said, but I loved the idea of an audio-visual experience. I love the visual arts, and actually this is a way that I could collaboratively work with a visual artist to represent my music. So, I mean, we do this anyway in music videos, but I extended the theme of the album, This Woman's Heart Point 2, which is the second part of a 2-part album, which sort of straddled, actually, very conveniently, the lockdown. So I released the first one before the first lockdown, and it was all about it was broken-hearted sentiments and all of that. The second part was far more about sort of bright futures and optimism. So I wanted to represent that in NFTs, and TWH stands for This Woman's Heart. So it's all about sentiments of my heart and womanhood. And so the NFTs are all sort of woven around female form. So got the legs, got the mouth, got the female form in shadow at the moment that I've released, weaving in each of the tracks to those. It's a 6-song album, so there are going to be more that are dropped. And the idea is, you collect each female form to make up the woman. So yeah, that's the concept. And I love the fact that you can sort of let your mind wander and get creative with these things. So yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, the whole, audio visual and creating kind of a new asset to mirror your album release is really interesting. It can be very, very powerful. I'll kind of put it to the floor here. I know we've kind of talked about being in very early experimentation phase. I'd love to hear from you guys what other interesting use cases on the music side you guys have seen around NFTs and what's excited you.
I'll go ahead and Anna and I were like, go ahead.
I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go there. Yeah,
go ahead.
So yeah. With the music industry, actually, it's I think it's also really exciting. Like Riva said, it's really, really nice to be an independent musician and actually be able to sell peer-to-peer your own art, packed really nicely with a designer, like a graphic designer. But also what's really important for the musicians is this the first time when they actually have a control on their contracts and they can actually transparently see where the money is going Like Eleonora mentioned before, it's just a file attached to the token. So it's not only like a picture or it's not only a sound, but it can also be a, for example, ticket to your show. And in this occasion, we could actually kick out the old smart-ass people who were buying like a bulk tickets for the events. And then they were selling it like for thousands more, doing much more money than actually the support band on the concert. Because we right now, like with the blockchain technology, we can always like track where the ticket is. And also we can see when it was sell on the secondary market. And I think this is also really nice when the artists can do their own art and they will still keep on harvesting the revenue in the secondary markets. When the prior, they could just sell it once and they were just getting money once. But now when they will sell it in secondary markets further and further, and their art is growing in a value, they will always each time harvest the revenue. So that's, I think it's a really exciting moment for the artists to actually join in, because they can always forever collect the income from all their art. And yeah, the freedom of NFT, which of creativity, is endless. Like the ideas and the visions which you can close in blockchain is never ending, and it's like surprising me every day when the musicians are coming to our company and they are giving us examples. Like I know I cannot spoil which artist exactly, but we get for example, VR avatar, where actually the musician is doing a small show in your own room, and you just purchase it and you can watch it. And also his own merch is attached to it. So the actually physical merch is coming to you and you are so excited you bought it, and you are probably one of the 10 people who could purchase it. So yeah, the ideas are endless, and I will give it to Eleanor so she could also come with a new idea of NFT.
Thank you, Anna. So sweet. Very interesting, that whole like avatar dancing and having your own like show at home. I think that's so, like you said, there's new ways for artists basically to be represented, and also to connect with their fans and with their audience. And basically, so I'll square back to Oculus basically. And so what they do is that you take the concept of NFT, which primarily at first, an NFT does not equate to digital art rights, right? It's separate. Those things don't go automatically together. So that's also a good distinction to make maybe when we're talking about NFTs. And so Oculus who basically is created by Lee Parsons, his brother. He has decades of experience in the music industry already with Ditto. And what he saw, what was missing really, is something where artists, but also their fans, could sort of share into that copyright. That's the most important part of music actually today, and where you actually make music. And I love it because Lee has like this presentation where he talks about the copyrights over Happy Birthday and how the woman who created that song just never saw the light of day of any penny. She never made 1 cent over that music. And basically now with NFTs, the idea with Oculus basically is you can split the copyright among a certain amount of NFTs. So you as an artist, you release a song, you split it, you split the copyright. So you own fully the copyright, and then you can split it. And those NFTs then are sold to whoever's interested in the future and participating in the success of this song. So it really changes basically how people buy music. Like imagine you get super early onto an artist that you love. You know he's going to release like an amazing like soundtrack or something. You want to be in. So already that FOMO, the fact of as a person listening to be part of that music in the future, great stuff. And then they've combined that idea basically with peer-to-peer loans. So as an artist today, and I'm personally not an artist, so but I understand that there's a struggle to get like bank loans or just the financial realm and recognizing someone's portfolio. You know, if you say, oh, I have like 1 billion streams, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. We're not going to, the bank doesn't really recognize that as an asset. And so what Oculus did is that they recognize all of that catalog as an asset and allows you as an artist to take out loans, all collateralized with basically these NFTs. So it's not backed by just wind. There's value behind it. So it's split copyright NFTs plus a peer-to-peer DeFi loaning exchange. So it's music and finance, participation of a fan base all in one, basically. So that's what he's done with NFTs and him and his whole team. So it's pretty impressive.
This is Taylor Bennett, isn't it? Is that right? Taylor Bennett and Big Zoo. They were the sort of poster boys.
Yeah.
Is that
I
right?
bought one actually. I bought part of Taylor Bennett's
Wow.
Whoa. So that means that in the future, so you are incentivized because you own a little piece of that. You wanted to go to the moon, right? You're like, do you play it on repeat? And you're like, share it all the time.
The problem is it hasn't been released yet. So I'm dying for it to get released. It's this really interesting, and I wasn't a fan previously. It's this really interesting connection now that I have. I feel very invested in that artist.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. But I think it's funny, I'll pass it on to Sherry in a second, but your point around finance and music as an asset, I think we're starting to see that more and more just generally. Like you look at a lot of the publishing deals that were done, and it's not just your typical publishers that are looking for exposure in royalty bearing assets. It's also, it's opening up a whole new type of investor. And I think the most exciting investor is the fan. And that's what NFTs opens up longer term. But over to Sherry, because Sherry tracks this space like a complete boss and has her finger on the pulse on every project. So I'd love to know what you're finding interesting at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. And yeah, I would totally second everything that's been discussed right now in terms of what's super interesting in the music NFT world. Yeah, for sure, the direct to fan like financing element. I think when people talk about the potentially disruptive effect to the label ecosystem, for example, around NFTs, like that's what they're referring to. I think it's super interesting. Something I've been thinking a lot about, and I feel like there isn't as much infrastructure or like thought around this yet. And I really think there should be more is, so like once you buy an NFT, and you say, once you buy an NFT, say it's like an audiovisual one and doesn't involve like rights transfer or anything, what can you actually do with it? So like if you think about, a physical piece of artwork that you're able to get, you can hang it in your room. You could, like show it off to people who are maybe visiting your home or apartment or whatever. There's this kind of I guess this displaying, this exhibition, this exhibiting, kind of behavior around art that I haven't really seen around NFTs as much yet in music. Usually when you see a lot of news articles written about music NFTs, it's like, oh, okay, Grimes, great example. Grimes sold, I think, like $7 million worth of NFTs a couple months ago. Where are they now? Like, are those people just holding on to them just for the sake of flipping them for profit? If so, that doesn't really like seem to me like it's, appreciating the art, let alone getting to maybe like access some kind of experience with Grimes or getting to like, build a space where you can show off your NFTs to other people. And so I'm really interested in wallets like Rainbow, which only works with Ethereum, but it's very visual and just allows you to, display even something as simple as having a central place where you can display all the NFTs you've collected. There aren't that many places you can do that right now. So I'm definitely interested in like following those. Rainbow is one of those platforms. And Reba, this is related to the NFT kind of campaign and rollout you just released. Very interested in what even like a crypto native album rollout looks like. I think we're starting to see a lot of those examples. Mirror is a very popular platform for that, where I would recommend people look up a kind of a collective or initiative called Song Camp, where they get a lot of, artists, songwriters, producers, and visual artists to work together for a couple weeks. They release and then also like monetize through NFTs, these new creations almost immediately. They have also like a Discord server around people who not just like create through that initiative, but also own these NFTs. And so it's not just, this NFTs, but also I guess like access to this longer term creative community. I guess like last thing I'll mention, which kind of ties those two things together. The rapper Mick Jenkins, I think around one of his recent releases with another rapper named Daichi Yamamoto, they not only released NFTs around their single, but they also displayed it in this crypto powered like metaverse virtual world called crypto voxels. It's like, that's been going on for a couple of years now, actually, but it just allows people to not just display their NFTs, but like build worlds around it kind of in 3D space. So I look forward to seeing hopefully more artists and musicians experiment with that, like not just releasing NFTs, but also creating, worlds where you can like explore them and like interact with them in newer ways. So yeah, I think just the kind of like long-term like framing and displaying of NFTs is what's especially exciting to me right now.
Yeah, I should say, because Carolyn from Mintbase was meant to be joining us today, and I know she would have piped up at this point, so I'm going to do it on her behalf, because they have actually displayed my NFTs in the crypto voxels space. So yeah,
amazing
album launch there, which was a really lovely concept, because obviously I couldn't do an album launch because of social distancing and things over here. I'm based in London, so that was a really lovely concept, and I know that they are joining forces with Wild Moher Festival, called a festival called Wildverse. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And they're going to be obviously showcasing my stuff amongst all the other artists that they're working with at the moment. So like you, Sherry, I'm fascinated by that world as well. And yeah, finding ways that people can actually consume these things and understand them better as well, and create an experience around it. Because my friends who have no clue about NFTs, they know a bit more now, enjoyed going to my party.
That's cool. Someone actually told me when I was at the Bitcoin conference in Miami that we could see a future world where, Riva, you could be performing in the metaverse and you could have all these different outfits, and then you could sell those NFT outfits to your fans, and they could have, exclusively what you wore on, your metaverse tour. And that kind of blew my mind. Because it goes beyond just, music as an asset and copyright. It just becomes, it becomes a full-on different, way of interacting with your fans, right, through the metaverse, and then being able to, sell additional assets as NFTs that are viewed as collectibles by your fans. So I think it's going to get really, really, really interesting.
100%. I saw some NFT fashion for the first time this week. So I know it's been going on for a little while, but I was like, wow, yeah, it's all possible.
Yeah, I think like we will also see the cross-platform NFT merch emerging on the metaverse. For example, like we can buy as an NFT a t-shirt of Metallica, and our avatar in every like metaverse, every game can actually wear it. And each time when the Metallica will drop their actual physical merch, your avatar on whatever you're playing or wherever you're going in the metaverse can actually wear this outfit. And each time the band is also gathering them the income. So that's possible, and that's most likely really close to the truth NFT 2.0.
So I guess we kind of talked about it being a little bit of experimentation and the wild west at the moment. There's a few like barriers, both, costs and educational around NFTs and bringing these to the mainstream. Like right now, it's still, from what I see, like a very crypto first community. There's been some mainstream examples, but how do you guys see this evolving, and do you see these barriers lessening over time?
Those barriers will disappear when everybody holds crypto. No, it's obvious. No, that's a terrible crypto maximalist person talking. I feel like your question exactly directs it to me. When I saw the Grimes, for example, selling her NFTs, I noticed that the whole platform didn't have crypto. There was no crypto on that platform. They were selling NFTs, but crypto was not needed. As a crypto person, I was a bit like, like, this is not how you should do it. But on the other hand, and you talked about it before, sort of the pros and cons of how these people are treating these NFTs, but at least the people that were really interested in buying at that moment, they didn't have to sort of go through the whole crypto onboarding process, which would have been send your fiat, send your dollars, your euros to an exchange, whether it be decentralized or not, do KYC or not, buy the certain underlying assets to then go to that NFT platform to then do your bidding. So I understand why they made it easier. And I think, of course, specializing in education, I believe in a future world where people are more educated and more knowledgeable and know about cryptocurrencies and about holding their own assets, because all of this ties in a little bit into the philosophy, right, of what we're talking today, which is with NFTs and more, you can get rid of banks, major record labels basically, and have full independence, not only for the artist, but also for the fan base. So it goes full circle. But I understand that this is just the beginning.
I guess I can jump off from that. Yeah, it is really interesting. Nifty Gateway specifically is a platform. It's like one of the few that is like very openly, you can use your credit card to purchase this this NFT, this crypto asset. Definitely just in like everyday conversations with people who are like not in the music industry, for sure, like just the complications of setting up a wallet, it's always like the first barrier. So I don't really have like a clear solution for that myself, but it is still very much a reality, I guess, of the conversation. Something that I do think a misconception that is also in the crypto world right now is that like just because you mint something yourself, that means that there's like no fraud happening or it's 100% authentic. I think there have been a lot of instances of, for example, just on any NFT platform, like any of us could mint what's a movie that's come out recently, like the latest Cruella movie. Obviously, none of us like own the rights to that movie. Disney does, but right now we could like mint an NFT around Emma Stone or something, probably make at least a couple hundred, if not $1,000 off of that. And right now there's like no system to kind of like, I don't police the strong word, but just like monitor that. And I do think it's ironic that a lot of these crypto platforms, if they do get like copyright or like requests for tab art getting taken down, it's like still under the framework of the DMCA, which is a law that was created, like several decades ago, and I think a lot of us would agree is kind of outdated, hasn't caught up with technology. So that's a tension that I think will like come even more to head in music in the next couple of months, especially because I also think this isn't so much like a challenge, just definitely a difference in how like individual artists versus labels are thinking about NFTs. I'm finding that like labels, especially major labels, are thinking about NFTs for much more from like a catalog perspective. Like how do we, like maximize the value of these like thousands, millions of songs that we have. And so that also would lead to just, those kinds of deals probably moving more slowly and probably being much more strict than say an artist just wanting to mint an NFT, today and like make money off it today. So so I guess just under the general umbrella of, licensing, copyright issues, the crypto world is definitely moving a lot faster than I think the world of copyright management and enforcement, but just does not at the same time does not have those like mechanisms in place that we would expect on other platforms.
Yeah, I can also add because we have lots of situations like that, and also in Utopia Genesis we are working on copyrights, and we developed the product where you can actually bill your royalties and your copyrights to your song, to actually track it down. And we know like we can track when it's used in other platforms, but it's like Cherry said, and that's 180% true. Crypto is much faster. The hype is much faster than actually all lawyers behind it. So the moment when the copyrights will be actually trackable, 100% is gonna take a longer, much longer. But first time, I think right now we are on the way to actually solve it. So it's possible, but it's gonna take really a long time in comparison to speed of crypto.
I think it's interesting to look at who the NFT platforms are using as their poster boys and girls, because I saw a seminar the other day with Binance, and obviously they're releasing the end of this month, I think, for a select number of artists, their NFT platform, and they were going on about Lewis Capaldi. Now I thought that was, I don't know if Lewis Capaldi is someone that you're all familiar with. Yeah, you are. Obviously British artist, but I was very surprised because he prides himself, I'm sure he won't be insulting me saying it, as the common bloke. You know, you'd imagine him in the pub with a pint. Him and crypto and NFTs. I'm fascinated by what he's going to be doing and actually how he's going to be promoting this to his audience that possibly will know nothing about NFTs, but may well going forward. So interesting that they've chosen him, and yeah, I'm excited by that one.
Do you think that's more, you know, these platforms targeting artists that they think would be a good fit, or it's artists that are curious, are the ones that are really looking and kind of doing the outreach and wanting to get involved in this space?
I'll let the others step in as well, because I'm sure they have views, but I wouldn't be surprised. I did have a little think about it afterwards. You'd probably find that you know, Lewis has been dabbling in cryptos for years, and you know, this was something he wanted to jump on. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm interested. But I think that could be quite a powerful way of accelerating this by selecting artists like that who obviously have massive fan bases, but I'm sure quite a lot of them aren't familiar yet with what's coming.
I can quickly jump in on that. Definitely, yeah, a challenge that does need to be addressed is, I guess, all of the like trends, but also like biases that currently exist in the ecosystem. For example, I could say this is one of 2 panels that I've been on that had more than you know, like 2 to 3 women, let alone, you know, all women talking about NFTs. In terms of people talking about it, let alone the people who are making the most money from it. Definitely, you know, majority male artists right now, majority white artists as well, both, you know, like visually and musically. There definitely is a genre bias. Vast majority of money made in this field right now is going to electronic artists, and I do think that is just inherent bias in just the crypto community, you know, like what kind of music they listen to, their own, I guess, like existing social networks online, the kinds of genres that are maybe like tend to be more willing or more able to experiment nimbly with, you know, emerging technology. And so I guess to bring it back to your question, Christina, it is definitely, I do think it is the like artists themselves who are like definitely being more proactive, especially in thinking about like longer term use cases. At the same time, there definitely is, I guess I would encourage both like artists and platforms to like very like proactively promote people who don't fit in like those boxes that I just mentioned. So especially, you know, like women, gender minorities. There's a platform called Async that works on like dynamic NFTs. So, you know, like if as a fan you get an NFT from an artist, you can like own an NFT of a specific stem, and you can change like the contents of that stem in the song in like the final master version in like at any point. And like one of the top genres on that platform right now is classical, which you know, I would not have expected. But I think like one of the most popular campaigns on Async is from a classical, like, you know, more experimental classical choir. And that makes a ton of sense because that use case for NFTs like really centers the creative compositional process, definitely centers on like instrumentals as well. So yeah, so I guess it's, yeah, kind of thinking out loud, but in terms of like a challenge, definitely is a bias. And I think the creators that we're seeing in the NFT world would definitely encourage everyone to yeah, just like promote people who don't fit inside like the main box that we see, because that is what crypto is all about. I think we've all touched upon it. Yeah, encouraging experimentation, kind of like underrated voices, etc. Yeah,
that's a great call out, Sherry. There was just a question here in the Q&A about a hip hop violinist who has amazing creative, but they weren't sure what, how receptive like this genre would be for the NFT space. So I think that's really interesting, yeah, about kind of not necessarily misfits, but kind of people who are willing to experiment and take risks. And I guess the current like NFT collectors and audience, they really reward that. I do have kind of, there's a bunch of questions here in the chat, which we'll get to in the last 15 minutes. But one thing that, more from a practical perspective, we might have some artists on this call that are looking at NFTing. And obviously we've seen kind of like this boom cycle where, the headline was all of these NFTs are selling for, millions of dollars. And then we're kind of seeing a little bit of, a decline in prices. Are you able to talk through that a little bit kind of in terms of like how you're seeing, the value of NFTs for anyone on this call that's looking at going out there and minting something, because minting is not necessarily that cheap at the moment if you're doing it on Ethereum. So would love to get your thoughts on that.
This is for me in particular?
Yeah, that's you.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Would also love to hear from other people on this call too, especially who have like directly work with minting / selling NFTs on the ground. So yeah, I guess just for higher level like market context. And so in this way, I think music is a microcosm of what's happening in the ecosystem generally. So from February through April, tens of millions of dollars of NFT, sales being generated. I guess I've only been tracking like primary, not secondary NFT sales, but it was like already, like $20-25 million per month. For the month of May, based on everything that I could track, there was only around like 2 million in sales. So that's already like a 90% dip month over month. If you look up NFTs on Google, you'll see all these headlines of, an NFT market crash. And in terms of like the decline in revenue, it is real. I think to an extent people are, the hype is kind of dying down, but people are asking like the actual important questions of, what's the actual long-term like use case of this. So in terms of the value of NFTs, I would encourage artists to think of NFTs not only as just, a piece of audiovisual artwork. I think if you make the artwork really compelling, for sure, it can have a lot of value, but also as, so say like, that fan, say a particular fan or collector, now owns an NFT. How are you going to keep, including them in your journey, and including them in your community and your world next year? I don't see many people like thinking about that question, like how can NFTs unlock just these like wider community experiences, whether that's like guaranteed access to your next crypto voxels event, for example, or Decentraland is another one of these like crypto metaverse worlds, or something that actually I think Michael Rapino from Live Nation has like talked openly about in the last investor call, is tying like crypto to offline events. Like how can you use NFTs as, I think we're discussing scalping earlier, not just to verify, the person who like owns this ticket or verify the authenticity of a ticket, but also just to use NFTs as admission to both online and offline experiences, because probably a lot of people watching this do want to perform, go on the road starting later this year and next year as well. So so that's kind of how I see the value, at least thinking, a year from now. It's not just in these like collectibles, but kind of NFTs as a window and as a key to unlock all these different kinds of experiences, both online and offline.
Yeah, I can add to Terry that it's sorry, that it's really important to not look at the other musicians when you are creating NFT. Don't think about, oh, she did a graphic with 3D something. I want the same. I want a much. This is not the form. Like NFT is just a Canva. You can put everything what you want. You can think about it a little bit more wider. Don't copycat anybody else, and that's for sure. Like the engaging your audience another time. Like, of course, like give your sound and give your graphic, but also attach a ticket to the tour for a next tour, for example, right? So the person who won the bidding, they will think like, oh, she will do the tour, then I have free ticket or have VIP ticket, backstage idea. So just be yourself and put yourself into the blockchain. Don't copycat anybody.
So there's some questions here. So bringing yourself onto the blockchain, there's some questions here about how do you actually, how does the minting process work for an NFT? It's a little bit daunting when you go to create one. Is someone able to simplify that for the audience here and anyone who's looking at doing that?
I want to take it, but I feel like I'll answer more on a technical, and then someone that has more practical can intervene. As an artist, basically, you are going to have to decide, or maybe your team, I don't know if it has to be the artist itself, but maybe people around you to, tell you about different blockchains, basically. There are different blockchains which have different features, which will allow you to basically mint a specific NFT. So certain blockchains don't have NFT capabilities, others do. And then depending on the blockchain, it will get more or less sophisticated. So Oculus, for example, is on Algorand, or Mintbase is on Near. You can already see that there's like differences right there just in terms of the tech that they're using. And then as an artist, you might not do it directly onto the protocol layer. So you could obviously just directly jump in, deep dive, mint it yourself, do it all from scratch, decide basically everything. Or you could go to a third party and have more of an NFT platform. So I think that would be the first layer, is like deciding if you do it yourself or through a platform, and then which blockchain you're choosing. And then like Anna said, like to really express yourself through the NFT, I see NFTs really as just an extra layer to you as an artist, to your current marketing, to your audience, and to just think of how you can add value and not just do something that's already been done. That's what I would say.
I guess the only thing I would add to that, and hopefully this is all accurate, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I guess I personally am more familiar with these kind of third-party layers of companies. Like Rarible is one of the most open ones, Rarible. They just have an interface where as long as you connect. So I guess the first step also is to set up a crypto wallet. There are a lot of different options for wallets out there. MetaMask is a very popular one. Coinbase, of course, Rainbow, etc. So I guess that's like the very first thing you have to set up. And so what Rarible is kind of one of these more open NFT platforms. Zora and Foundation are especially interested in working with independent musicians. In addition to visual artists, Foundation recently worked with Holly Herndon on an ongoing, kind of like catalog-driven NFT drop. Zora recently has also worked with a lot of labels like I Am Sound, for people who might be familiar with them, on kind of an NFT gallery. So they're very actively pursuing music partnerships. Yeah, one thing, speaking of, like gas fees, Christina, you're mentioning, and how like expensive they are, that definitely is something to keep in mind. So on these platforms, usually you can just, upload audio, visual, like any kind of file to attach to the NFT. But usually on these platforms, the artist does have to front the gas fee, which, depending, it's almost like playing the lottery in terms of what the cost is on any given week. Some weeks it can be as high as, a couple $100s. There are a handful of resources that are out there. Like Zora has something called the Mint Fund, where I think every couple of months or so, hopefully it'll like be more frequent, but they kind of accept applications for grants to help artists, especially they prioritize not only underrepresented, minorities, or also kind of, women, gender nonconforming artists, but also people who are minting their NFTs for the first time. They'll cover their gas fees for the first NFT. So would encourage people to look into that. It's called the Mint Fund. But yeah, just definitely something to keep in mind, and hopefully like more of those kinds of funds will exist in the future.
The best would be for the gas fees to just go down.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for them not to exist. Yeah.
So For those that are maybe don't know what we're talking about, gas fees are basically the fees that you're paying to the miners to be able to use a certain blockchain. So why we're not talking about Bitcoin usually in NFT events is because you cannot mint NFTs on Bitcoin, for example. But transaction fees are pretty high as well on BTC. Ethereum got extremely popular because it enabled all of these smart contracts and all these, wonderful products basically on top of it, but it got congested and very popular. So therefore the space is limited in these blocks. And so the price went up to basically get minted in. So that game that Sherry was mentioning in terms of when you're minting means that depending on how busy the blockchain is, your fees will be more or less high. Good thing to know, Ethereum is scaling. They are working on this. So this is not like a dead end, but there are, and I'm not saying any blockchain in particular, but Near, Flow, BCH, Tezos, that I can think of right now, Algo, but Algo is permission. So just so you know as well that there's differences in terms of these blockchains. I don't want to make it too complicated, but basically there's different options for people out there to mint on.
So I actually launched one on OpenSea through obviously Ethereum, and I was aware of the very, very high gas fee. I did it then because I was waiting for Near's relationship with Mintbase to fully cement, and that was just a week after I was due to launch. So I've now done it through Mintbase and Near, and obviously, they pride themselves on having low gas fees. So it's definitely one to explore, as well as being a more sustainable model generally across the board. I'm speaking for Caroline there as well as myself.
You're doing a great job. So that is actually a question that we've gotten a bit in the chat around, the sustainability around minting an NFT. Obviously, Ethereum is, not necessarily the most sustainable, but would love to hear from you guys, or if people are looking for more sustainable solutions, at least right now. You already mentioned it slightly, Riva, going with Nia, but I just thought I'd specifically ask this question, given it's been posted a few times here in the chat.
So I understand the environmental argument is actually a big theme that comes around when you're in crypto. It's either cryptos for criminals or the horror of us creating another financial alternative system and how much electricity it's using. For reference, it's because it's so transparent that you can trace all of this and you can see all the computational power. I'm such a shill for crypto sometimes, you have to forgive me. But basically, if environment and sustainability is really important for you as an investor, to mint, whatever you are, I would say that you have to look for one word, and it's the consensus algorithm of your blockchain, and it's proof of stake. So currently, Ethereum is on proof of work. So that's a very hungry hippo type of consensus algorithm, meaning that it requires a lot of computational power. And that's all the electricity you're hearing about. On proof of stake blockchain, different consensus algorithm, and it's about stakeholders. So you remove from the equation all that computational power. So if that's really something important for you, then choose a blockchain which has proof of stake as its consensus algorithm. FYI, Ethereum is also migrating to proof of stake in the future, when we're all full of optimism, but that's again for the future. But that's the environmental question in a nutshell.
Awesome. Sherry?
Yeah, just very quick thing to add to that. I'm pretty sure the Flow blockchain is proof of stake.
Pretty sure it is too, yeah.
Okay, yeah, just mention, so the Flow blockchain is behind Dapper Labs, which runs NBA Top Shot, probably one of the biggest, especially probably one of, if not the biggest, like vertical specific NFT marketplaces. They sell like moments from NBA games. And yeah, so they use the Flow blockchain, already doing, millions of dollars worth of transactions every month. And so there are proof of stake blockchains that are out there that that kind of are proven and are working. And Dapper Labs I think they are planning to launch some kind of music marketplace in the near future as well. So just keeping an eye out for that as an example of a very, high profile example of a music NFT marketplace that does, work on a proof of stake blockchain.
And then another question we had is around the process of like primary and secondary sales, and how if you mint an NFT, you can ensure that you get, you know, the upside of any uplift of a secondary sale. Is anyone able to kind of walk through that process here for the people on the call?
Yeah. So when you are minting, you are having a smart contract, and the information on the smart contract is giving you the splits. It's up to, like, if you are using, for example, the marketplace like Utopia Genesis, then okay, I will just take it on our example. It's gonna be just easier to understand. In a smart contract, we are giving you the chance to have 90% of your sale, and 10% is on the marketplace. So when you are selling for the first market, everything goes to you. And then we have like an extra information in the smart contract that whenever this NFT will be resale again, for example, on the OpenSea, you will get 8% of every sale. So it's already minted in the contract, and it's automatically triggered when the NFT is sold. So there is no bigger magic. It's really simple. It's the contract. Nobody's controlling it. Nobody can change it. It's locked in a blockchain.
Awesome.
And again, that's something that Near and Mintbase have also established, and was one of my main reasons for going with them.
It's like you see in the art world, like you might sell your original piece of art and then it gets resold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you don't get a direct stake in that. And so the blockchain really provides for that, which I think is really cool. We're nearly out of time, but there's one question and we'll finish on a bombshell here. How will NFTs and labels, publishers interact in the future? We talked about NFTs allowing for independence and artist independent and direct access, but how do we see a world, with these traditional stakeholders still playing in the space?
I guess I can quickly start with that. I mentioned Dapper Labs is building a music NFT marketplace. I think Warner Music Group was announced as like one of the first big, the major music partners on that. And also the third partner in that kind of marketplace is a company called Genies that has worked for a couple of years now on building these like digital avatars on behalf of celebrities. So they have like avatars for J Balvin, Cardi B, Migos, Rihanna, like a lot of these big music and sports and just general celebrities. So my sense, based on all the pieces that are there, is that they have some kind of licensing deal that will allow labels like Warner Music to be able to sell and also monetize these NFT sales of artists on their roster. It could be like on the avatar level or also on the music level. So my sense now is that given the actual like surprising lack of activity in terms of sales on the label side, there's just a lot of legal conversations happening internally right now in terms of getting from that point to an actual deal, let alone a functioning marketplace. It could be another several months, but that's more so how I see it in terms of like labels, because again they want to kind of monetize and maximize their catalog, doing these like bigger deals that can take longer to put together. That said, I mentioned I Am Sound earlier, like there are indie labels as well that have done some really interesting NFT exhibitions. Monster Cat is one that has already sold like a lot of, probably like several dozen of the hundreds of NFTs. Leaving Records, kind of experimental hip hop, electronic. They've also sold NFTs and are very active in that space. And so I'm very excited for what indie labels will do. I think they'll move more quickly, and so we'll see more interesting use cases from them for sure versus the more kind of like major label publisher side.
Awesome. Well, I know I get too caught up in talking about NFTs, so I know we're going a little bit over, but I'd like to thank you all for joining this panel. This has been super informative and fun for me, and hopefully for everyone else on this call. So thanks very much to all the incredible panelists, and look forward to seeing where this innovation takes us. We'll probably be talking about you know, even more things that we hadn't even, you know, contemplated this time next year.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Yep, bye.
Yeah, have a great day.